The quite odd looking Meteor NF.13 is a rank 5, battle rating 7.7 Israeli fighter. It was added with update Winged Lions. In the Israeli tech tree, it sits right after the clipped wing Mark 9 Spitfire and the Meteor F8. Its only armament are the 4 Hispano Mark 5 20mm cannons, and does not have the ability to carry any bombs, rockets, or air-to-air missiles. In real life, the Meteor NF.13 was a night fighter, hence the NF in its designation. You've probably noticed how this aircraft looks a little different compared to the British Meteors in-game. It has this giant nose which underneath sits a powerful radar which gives the Meteor NF.13 its night fighting capability. Unfortunately, in War Thunder, this is basically useless if you are playing Air RB, and honestly, I turn the radar off every time I play this aircraft because it gets quite annoying seeing the giant radar display on the right side of your screen going back and forth constantly. Alright, I had no idea what to expect when I acquired the NF.13 Meteor. I've hardly ever played Meteors before in War Thunder, and even when I did, it was literally years ago when I was grinding through the British aircraft. After I had played a few matches in this thing, I searched around the internet to see what other people's thoughts on this aircraft were, and I didn't really see much about the performance of this aircraft in-game, aside from 2 Reddit posts from around the time this aircraft was being added in-game. One of which was just announcing that this aircraft was in fact being added, and the other one was where the person who posted it said this aircraft was amazing shortly after the Winged Lions update was implemented. My experience with the Meteor NF.13 completely exceeded my expectations. Whether you got an up tier or a down tier, this thing is a monster. It accelerates well, it has a good climb rate, its top speed is on par with most other aircraft at or slightly above 7.7, it holds its energy really well. Hell, the only thing this thing doesn't do well is roll quickly. The roll rate is pretty slow, but that's not much of a price to pay with all of the advantages this aircraft has. When I unlocked this plane, I researched and purchased all of the modifications and still had 2 free repairs remaining. Also, I know it's not impressive to some, but at the time of making this I had almost a 5.0 kill-death ratio with the Meteor NF.13. Now when it comes to me actually playing this aircraft, I like to play the Meteor NF.13 fairly aggressively. I'll take a head-on here and there, I turn with enemies given a chance, and at the beginning of each match, I fly in a slight climb directly towards the enemy team. I usually end up at the same altitude as most of the enemy fighters, give or take, and then I try to take the first targets I see, of course within reason. It takes a good bit of situational awareness, but it's definitely possible to take on multiple enemies at once with this aircraft. To be honest, in sheer capability, I honestly think this thing is very similar to the Su-11, and I pretty much fly this and the Su-11 the same way. Which, by the way, if you are all players of this battle rating area, you know the Su-11 is extremely overpowered. It's basically easy mode when you fly that thing. Alright, into my showcase match. Like I said a second ago, I like to play this thing pretty aggressively, so I see this F2H2 in front of me, and I'm going to start heading his way. It appears he sees me and does the same, and I'm going to take a quick head-on with him. Don't get anything out of it, neither of us hit each other, so that's okay. I start turning around to see if I can get on his tail. A second later, he dives down and does the same thing, so I try and take it in the vertical, which is a fight I believe I can win. So he's sort of on my 6 right now, but that's okay, I kinda have him in a pretty good spot because that thing is going to bleed a lot more speed than my Meteor is going to. But I guess it doesn't matter, unfortunately my teammate gets to take him out instead of me continuing the dogfight. But I would have had to pull off either way because I noticed this F9F coming from my left. I dive out of the way of his guns, and then he starts turning after me, which is awesome. Not sure why all these American naval aircraft are doing this, because the Meteor will turn better than all of them. I think he realized that what was going to happen because he pulled off and disengaged, but now I notice there's an A5 Sabre real close to me. He realizes what's going to happen as well, and then he also pulls off. But as soon as he pulls off, my teammate is getting his guns on him, and then he realizes that, tries to dive under him, which lines him up perfectly for my guns. So that's going to be kill number 1. As soon as I straighten out, I look up and notice the F2H2 over here, and I choose him as my next target. Try and take a slight head on, I pull off before he can get his guns on, so I'm going to get a critical hit on him, he's not going to hit me. Then I turn around and notice another A-Sabre. He's lined up perfect with my gun, so he is going to go down as well for kill number 2. After he goes down, I look up and notice the F2H2 from a minute ago that I critted. I can't remember what exactly I critted on him, but apparently it wasn't enough to take him down or really seem like it slowed him down at all. So once again, I engage. I start to take some long-range shots off at him, which aren't really going to do anything. I wanted to wait and catch up to him a little more before I sprayed any more of my ammo. But then my teammate comes in and he starts shooting at him, so I start spraying like an idiot to try and secure my kill, which I failed doing. But it's not like the Meteor knew that he was already damaged or anything, so I can't fault him for it at all. So after that's all over, I notice there are 3 enemies on my one teammate over there, so I should probably head that direction. So the last couple minutes have basically just been spent turning. And that entire time I maintained 5, 6, sometimes 700 kilometers an hour throughout the dogfights. And that reason right there is exactly why this aircraft is so strong. And it makes this thing really fun to fly. Anyway, I noticed the F-89 and F-9F. Gonna make one of them my priority if they maintain their same trajectory, but they both end up coming straight for me, so I pull off so I don't die. I pitch up hoping one of them will try and fight me, which it appears they will both do. The F-9F is basically going to put himself right in front of my guns. I fire way too early instead of trying to get closer to him and fire for an easier shot, and I completely whiff. But it's okay, I keep going in the vertical, confident I can still win this fight. We are both very slow now, both in very vulnerable positions, but I am going to get my guns on target. And just like that, kill number 3. Now at this point I've only got 18 rounds left in my guns, which is not much for Hispanos, or really any normal sized gun in this game. I see an F-80 low, I start chasing him, but with 18 rounds there's really not that much I can do. I ended up shooting off my final rounds at him. A couple of them hit, but no real damage was done, so I ended up going back to my base to rearm and get back in the air. So actually, once I landed and took off again, I forgot to press record until I realized there was a B-57 going head-on with me. And it almost gets me killed while I try to press the record button while I'm going head-on with a B-57. But luckily I pull off with no damage. It was about this point right here where I completely forgot how well B-57s turn when they don't have a bomb load. For a second I started to panic and thought I might actually die to a B-57, but then I realized he lost all of his speed in those turns, so I'm gonna pull away no problem. I start climbing away to try and eventually get him in an energy trap if he still followed. But as soon as I get this climb started, I look up and to my right and there is an F-80 coming for me. Now the F-80 is a good plane. I haven't played it in quite a while, but I remember it being pretty good. He starts spraying at me from almost 2 kilometers away, which is a little weird, so I thought maybe he was a new jet player or something. But either way, I knew this wasn't going to be an easy fight because I had him and also the B-57B is still trailing me. Right now I'm still trying to gain a little bit of speed before I start this fight, and as soon as I realize I'm not going to be able to run away anymore, I'm going to start the fight. So now I go up just trying to stay out of his guns, and hopefully get him to overshoot. And that's exactly what's going to happen. I thought I might die to the B-57 real quick, but he misses his shots. And he's inverted, so he's not going to get his guns on me again. And now the F-80C is right in front of me. Get a crit. He puts his nose down, and I'm going to follow to try and finish him off. But I have terrible aim. So he realizes he's not going to get away from me, so he pitches down to the deck. And as you will now see, I will continue to have terrible aim. But I think he goes neg-G here and rips off one of his wings, so that's still going to give me the kill because I've already been shooting him a bunch. And that's going to be kill number 4. Now, all I have to worry about is this B-57, which should not be a problem at all. He shoots a couple of shots off at me from like a kilometer and a half behind, which that's not going to hit unless you got some god tier aim. After he shoots those shots at me, I start turning around and realize he starts running back towards his base. Kind of funny after his buddy's gone. It's not going to be a problem at all for me to catch a B-57. This thing's relatively fast, and the B-57 after all is a bomber, so he's not going to be all that fast. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention earlier, I think this is only my second match in this jet that I'm covering right now. So this thing is nearly stock, and it's still performing the way it is right now, and it only gets better with every upgrade. Really, the only thing I find annoying on this aircraft is that roll rate. It's kind of like a MiG-15 in that manner. Only it doesn't feel as stiff as a MiG-15. I would almost say that this thing would be a really good starter jet. I find you can fly this a lot more prop-like compared to other early jets. So that's my reasoning for saying that. I would still say an F-84 or F-80 would be the best starter jet just because it really teaches you the fundamentals of jets, but this one is still a good one. Anyway, finally caught up to this B-57 and I'm going to shoot some shots off, and that's going to be my final and 5th kill of the match. The Meteor NF.13 is an absolute monster at 7.7. You can't really put to use its radar for night fighting, but that doesn't really matter. I had a blast flying this thing, and will probably use this to grind out the rest of Rank 5 Israel. Anyway, what do you guys think about the Meteor NF.13? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe. I've got more videos coming. And on that note, I'm out. Peace.